We invite you to step across a threshold into the macabre, a world where shadows dance with the sinister and whispers echo with dread. We delve into the darkest corners of the human psyche, unearthing chilling tales of the supernatural, the psychological, and the downright disturbing. So draw the curtains, lock the doors, perhaps even peek under the bed. Because once you open the red door, there's no telling what terrors you'll find on the other side. Are you brave enough to enter?
Welcome. Tonight's podcast that delves into the chilling mystery of Jack the Ripper. In 1888, London's East End, gripped by fear as a series of brutal murders and terrorized the streets, unsolved to this day. The case of Jack the Ripper has captivated the true crime enthusiasts for over a century. Join us as we dissect the evidence, examine the suspects, and explore the social context of Victorian London. We'll separate the fact from fiction, analyze the Ripper's infamous letters, and consider the enduring impact of these heinous crimes. Was the Ripper a lone madman or a productive of a society riddled with poverty and inequality? Join us as we journey into the heart of the Whitechapel murders and attempt to unravel one of the history's most enduring mysteries. Prepare to be disturbed, intrigued, and forever haunted by the shadow of Whitechapel. Oh, thank you. Welcome, everybody. So tonight we're going to be talking, as you know, as Jack the Ripper. We have guests that are with us tonight. We have one in particular that, if you all remember, I'll go start with him first. We have Wolf the Ripper. Wolf, if you like to introduce yourself.
Well, it's been a long time, but I'm back for this episode.
Welcome back. I'm glad to have you back. And we have Catnap, who is part of the podcast crew. I know it's exciting
Hello,
to
hello.
see him back on. Yes, and we got Catnap. And
I'm
Catnap,
here.
she, as you guys know, she was with us in our last podcast, and it was the Slenderman murders, and it was really fun. And she wanted to be part of this too, and so we all came together and decided to work at work together. And then we have Stone, the Wishmaster.
Hello, here, but I'm in the back. Uh,
She'll be coming in every once in a while. That's okay. All right, so the Ripper, Jack the Ripper. He's a very famous murderer, as you guys know, and one that has caught the eye of everyone. And they're still trying to solve his murder. Not solve his murder, but solve who he was. So what I will bring up is about a couple months ago, there was evidence that they apparently found that he was. They found somebody that was him. I don't know who it was. I They said that he was had to have been somebody that lived around the area. Did you hear about that, guys, at all? Or because I heard
I've
some.
heard so many.
Yeah, it
I've heard
was.
Yes,
so
same
many.
here.
Mhm. They said that he
Always
was like,
something.
yeah, like they said that he was like some guy that recently that they found, and they say that he was just a ordinary person. But I don't
I've
believe that.
heard that they worked in the market, they were a doctor, or anyone that worked in the medical position.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's been multiple. Yeah, there's been multiple what do you call them, suspects. Lots of them are to do with in the medical field, but you've also some of them are butchers. Some of them just have a interest in surgery. It's
Mm-hmm.
always something strange and unusual, and I find that the butcher one is a little bit. I don't know. I think the only time the reason why people thought he was a butcher was because butchers had the ability to find knives. But
Yes.
Yes.
animal, as I know, because I even did animal. I've done an animal like a course. Animal anatomy is very different from human anatomy. So just because a person's a butcher doesn't mean they know exactly what they're doing when they're cutting up a human. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Jack knew what they were doing. So mm.
Yeah. I definitely want to say like the way that they've had this catnip sounds heart-eyed as fuck. Oh.
Love you too, Stella.
It's- I agree. You should have heard
Oh,
the
thank you.
first time I heard her talk. I was like, "Oh my god!"
Just
Uh,
fluttering. Oh,
but it was it was very interesting to have one because the first time I ever heard about Jack the Ripper, I was probably about like 8 years old, and there was kids in my school that were talking about him, and I didn't know like what it was until I went home. And I remember when I asked my dad about it, and my dad's like, "Who told you about this guy?" Like, he was just like, and I was like, I was 8, so I didn't know, like, I just heard the name. I just heard Jack the Ripper. I heard the kids talking about it, and I went to my dad because my dad, you know, was like he loved apparently history, obviously. And
mm.
then I went to him, and he's like, "Who told you about this guy?" And I was like, all I remember was him getting upset and then going to my mom and be like, "Somebody told her about murder." I was like, and uh, I don't, I didn't have there was we weren't around computers a lot back then, so it was very
Well, we
difficult.
didn't have any
No,
computers back then.
no. But then, like when I got a little older and I was about 13 or 14 years old, I was going to the Boys and Girls Club, and uh we were doing we dressed up for a Halloween party, and this kid came in with like uh like a cape and like a top hat,
Oh, Jack the
and
Ripper.
yeah, and he had like like it was really, he was dressed, but he had like his face was all white, and he had blood on his gloves or what, fake blood. And I remember sitting there asking him like, "Who the heck are you supposed to be?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm Jack the Ripper." And I'm like, "What?"
Y-
You
You
know?
know, it's mind-boggling because over here it's like taught in primary schools over here. We're taught that history quite early on. I
Mhm.
remember being
Yeah.
very young and learning about Jack the Ripper. It's like one of the most iconic pieces of British history over here. It's like the Whitechapel murders. Nobody knew who he was. Of course, they didn't go into detail of what what they did. And they cut what Jack did. They just used to tell us about the fact that there was this man who went around murdering people, and he
Mhm.
was never caught. And it was the most confounded mystery that's ever shook Britain in its
Yeah.
ever lifetime. And it's also what caused so many amazing stories to come out, because one of the greatest pieces of literature that came out, which was The Curious Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, came
Mhm.
out because the person who wrote it thought, what if the person who played who was Jack the Ripper, was somebody with two sides of the same coin.
Yeah. But
Uh-huh.
It's
And
you know
that's how I learned about Jack is by the Jackal and Hyde story.
Yeah, mm, it's in our, because we used to, when I was a kid, I used to watch so many like crime dramas as a child, because definitely during daytime television they weren't very, because they had to make sure they weren't violent. Like, I don't know
Right.
if you've ever heard of Midsummer Murders. It's the most
Yes.
crazy.
My
Yeah.
my aunt loves all those kind of shows. So every time we are in Louisiana, it's on TV.
Yes, I love that. Me and my mother are rewatching it as we speak. Um, but that even talks about Jack the Ripper at one point. You know, a lot of these different. So I was a young kid when I first found out about Jack the Ripper. Like I said, even our schools taught it in history. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's a big piece of our history. So it's really unusual that I hear that you, Pap, turning around and saying, "Oh, I found out when I was 8," and there's me going, "I was younger than that when I found out about Jack the Ripper."
I think the reason is though because Wolf said, like we learned from like Jackal, Mr. Jackal and Mr. Hyde, you know, like those
Yeah.
type of things. And when I was younger, I'm gonna be honest, like if it wasn't like in front of me, like very clear, I
Mm,
wasn't paying good attention to it. But like when I did get older, like I said, I did learn about it. And it's like nowadays I'm still learning new things about, you know, history, and regardless of what part of history I'm learning. And the thing is that when I got that age, when I did get older, it intrigued me, and I
mm,
started to like dive into the internet, and I started researching it. I would go to the library, especially the libraries, because I when I was being homeschooled, and my dad would want us to walk to the libraries to get exercise and kind of, you know, so we weren't like cooped up in the house. So
yeah.
we would go to the libraries, and I found a book um in the library that was it was a about Jack the Ripper. And I remember taking it and like flipping through the the book, and it had
Mm.
the pictures, it had like the map, it had like the
Oh, wow.
letters, like explaining about it and everything. And I was like, oh my god, this is insane, this is crazy, this guy, like, what the hell, he like stalked the night and murdered these women for what, you know? So like that's how I learned about it. And I think
Mm,
over here it's taught differently until like you
yeah.
get older, and then you start learning the around it about the real reason why it was there, or it was hidden behind a story from a story. So that's how I learned from, well, I learned from Jack the Ripper from a kid. So I mean
Yeah.
it
I mean,
was but you know, it was very intriguing. And I remember my mom, she would always be like, she thought there was something very different about me because I was always talking about it. But I'd never talked about it in front of my dad until I got older. And my dad was like, when he found out that I was like looking it up and everything, and he's just like, why are you fascinated by this? This man murdered people. And I'm like, Dad, I'm like, and I think I made a point. I was like, why do we like history? In history there's
mm,
wars and stuff like that, and people murder people. This is just one of those things, you know. So I absolutely love, I love, I don't love what happened, but I am fascinated about the mystery of it. And
I remember when I first brought him up, you gave me your TikTok about if you had, if you would to talk to a serial killer, who would it be? And you said Jack the Ripper.
I probably wouldn't survive thinking
no,
of
you're
nothing.
fine. You're not a prostitute. You're fine. You're fine.
Okay, that's good. I'm not a prostitute. I sure hope not. Good lord. Oh my goodness. All right. So we know that, like, okay, so
You
basically
better
let's
not be a prostitute.
I
I'm just gonna pipe in. I had to take a second to like come and unmute myself and mute the freaking browser. You better not be a prostitute because where's the money?
Yes.
right.
There's your pimp. There's your pimp.
Oh my god. Where are my P50s? All right. So, we're going to talk about the Whitechapel murders. So basically, Jack the Ripper, his first, there was apparently five victims, correct? There was five.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, and they all happened towards the end of summer, which was in August. And can you like that must be even hot. Like just thinking about it, the heat being under like that cloak and everything that they believe that he wore. But they said the first murder was Mary Nichols. She was murdered
Yeah.
on August 31st of 1888.
Yep.
So Mary, obviously, Mary Nichols was a prostitute. She would um, you know, do her thing. And then around 3:30 a.m. of that morning, there was a man named Charles Cross left his home. He left his home, and it was down in Diventon Street in Bethnal Green, and he set off to work that morning. And then uh where he was where obviously he was going to work, and then that I believe that's when he ended up finding the body, I believe.
Yeah.
So he says, um, I got we have some notes here. Okay, hold on. Okay, so it said here that when he did, he said that when he drew closer, he realized that it was in fact prone of a woman. So he saw like there was a woman laying in the middle, like in the street, and who was either dead or drunk, and he stopped like in his tracks, and then that's when
Mm.
he found her. um I believe that, like, see, the thing about these murders too is that they had to been intrigued with this man. He had to have a lot of money for one, okay,
Hmm.
and he gave them what they wanted. That's what I think. I think that he did give them what they wanted.
Why do you
Yeah.
think that?
Because, okay, so like I feel like a lot of the doctors back in that day, right? They were to me, I feel like, I'm not going to say superior, but they were like in the high ups. They knew what they were doing. They went to school for it. And a lot of doctors back then they had money, right? Because they were good at what they did. They went to school for it. And a lot of people, when they went to um, learn of the anatomy of the body, they would graduate, whatever, they become doctors. So I would think that this man he knew what he was doing. He knew the back, like, the I just feel like he was rich. I don't know
Mm.
why, but I feel like he was
It,
rich because it's
yeah.
yeah.
It's the problem is in Victorian times, a lot of doctors back definitely in England, they were mostly came from very rich, well-to-do families because they were the
Mhm.
only ones who were able to actually put their child through those certain things.
y-
I
Yep.
also
Right.
think, I also believe that he must have been very charismatic, you know,
Yes.
to be able
Yeah.
to do what he could do. He can't be some lowly, and I'm sorry about saying this, but he can't be some lowly foreigner that can't speak English. I'm sorry, I know this is probably harsh, but he had to have been somebody who probably could speak very well and was
Mhm.
probably sweeping these girls off their feet to the point that maybe, I don't know, he promised them that he was going to protect them and he's going to take them away from the streets and then he kills them. You know, it's there's so many different ways this could go. You could make it out that he is just, someone who is a doctor, or he could be somebody who went to school but failed because he wasn't good enough, and so
Right.
he's using what he knows on these prostitutes. All I can definitely say is I believe that he definitely disliked women
Oh, yes. Definitely.
because of the mutilation he does to these women, especially the fact that he does it to prostitutes, which at the time that these murders happened was a humongous, big thing in London at the time. Was there was a lot of prostitution, because there was no handouts, there was no government support, so a lot of women, when their husbands were either killed because they went mining or they died at work, they turned to prostitution so that they could, feed their families. Which, I mean, when you live in a world that doesn't allow, back then women weren't allowed to work unless it
Mm-mm.
was prostitution. So, but it makes me wonder just why he hated prostitutes so much, though.
There
See,
was a rumor when I first started looking that his mother was one and was very abusive to him.
That's what I was thinking.
yeah,
I was thinking the same. Yeah, that his
that's.
mother was probably a prostitute.
I think Stone said something about that too. She said that, he could have possibly have been someone that was a son of a prostitute. Um,
Yeah, that's a point I brought up, and he got to see, like what it was like on the inside.
Mm.
So
no, I
Yeah,
could that I mean that's a very big possibility.
and
But
he could have been. Sorry, no, you guys. Sorry.
no, 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 go on, go on, go on.
No, I was just going to say because then he could have been taken as a ward of the state, which is probably he could have been taken as a ward from a family, which is probably where he got the ability to go to a higher school, but he failed, and that's probably why he does what he does.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm not saying I believe that he definitely was a doctor. Like I
Oh yeah.
hands down believe that he was a doctor. I believe that maybe everything that went through him was like a I'm not going to say like for a trauma response, but like the
Mm,
trauma that he probably had as maybe a child, and seeing how his mother treated him caused
mm,
him to have um these thoughts of like these women, this is all they're really good at doing, because let's be honest here, like Stone did say to me when I was joking around about me being a prostitute, uh, you know, or about when I did say he wouldn't kill any other woman. It was
no,
only
he yeah.
it was a prostitute. However, the one thing that does make me believe is the ones that he picked to kill. So these
Mm,
women, I feel like in some sort of way, I'm not saying that he knew them or like he heard of them from some people that, and he picked out the ones that he wanted to kill. Like he could have killed
to,
any other prostitute out there, but he picked the ones.
to kind of
yeah.
intervene, could it have possibly been, I don't know, maybe prostitutes that he tried propositioning or whatnot, and something happened between the two of them to where the they resisted and he didn't like the fact that he was a man, women didn't have much of a say in that part of the
Hmm.
Mm,
time period, and he didn't like the fact that he was being told no and got angry.
I mean
That
that
could be a possibility.
Yeah, that could definitely be a possibility to think about. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities on why he attacked these women. And I
yeah.
and apparently too, like with some of these victims, I mean, he went the out of all of the murders, I'm not going to say like that was the least. The murders
Yeah.
that he did were like they were least, they weren't bad. But the
Yeah.
last murder he did, he made sure people saw that. He made sure people knew that this is what he was doing, that this was the mark, that this was going to be something to go down in history forever.
I feel like too that might have possibly been kind of a hint towards who his favorite was,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
because then when it turns into a crime of passion.
Mhm.
Well, it is something that my mother said when I was talking to her about it today. Is she turned around and said that you have to realize that with each victim he gets, he got more and more psychotic almost, didn't he?
Yes.
More
Yes.
and more
Mhm.
violent, more and more mutilation, more and more removing of organs, more and more, you know,
It's
gruesome.
probably because the more you do it, the easier it becomes.
It is, yeah.
And
Especially when it came down to Mary Jane Kelly.
Yes,
yeah,
Mary
Yeah.
Jane Kelly, I feel like, I'm sorry to say this, but since it's a dark subject, but it's true.
Yeah.
I feel like Mary Jane Kelly was his muse. Like it was that was his That was his. No, I'm not gonna say muse. That was the canvas was there, and he
Yeah,
just used her as, the art,
yeah.
and
It's either
he.
that. Oh,
Hmm.
sorry, you go.
No, no, go on.
No, no, go, go, go. No, you go, you go.
No, no,
I
go.
was,
You're fine.
Pat, just go.
I don't
I
remember
was,
what
I'm so sorry. I was just
I was
gonna say that
gonna
you could say that the reason why somebody go maybe Mary looked like his mother.
Maybe
That
that's a
could be
good.
Maybe
true.
Mary
Yeah.
looked like his mother. Maybe these women, the closer you got to Mary, they started resembling his mother. Maybe one of them sounded like his mother. Maybe one of them, with the way of an off comment, sounded like what his mother used to say to him. It's it's just it's as I was saying also was it's very unusual that you don't find any other because most serial killers don't just start and then they just continue. There is some build up to it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And
There's some kind
while
of something that
yeah,
calls to them.
yeah, and while the first murder, yes, I agree, wasn't as violent, it still was quite. I mean, he literally cut to the back of his spine to the point that the head was almost severed from the body. I
Mhm.
mean, that's not something you do as your first victim. So
No.
I'm a big believer that he must have tried this on with some other people, and maybe he just was able to hide it better, or maybe his family was able to hide it better.
Yeah. I
You
think
see?
I mean, like, I believe that. I think that's a good thing to say, because when you look at Mary, obviously the picture's right there. When you look at
Mm,
her, okay, trigger warning, all right? When you
mm,
look at her, her face is so unrecognizable. You don't see her eyes, you don't see her nose. Her entire lower half of her body is completely destroyed. I mean, she was mutilated. And I
yeah,
feel like what the comment that you said was that maybe she looked like his mother.
His mother.
Maybe that's
mm,
why her face is so destroyed and the rest
yeah,
of her body is mutilated. All that anger that he could have had built up for years of being abused. Now, this is not saying that this actually happened to him, but this is just a thought of what could have happened to him, that this is what we believe that could happen.
mm,
I honestly think that the more and more we talk about it, because I did talk about this with Stone and Wolf a couple days ago, and I do believe there's a part of me that believes that theory that his mother was a prostitute. And now that you've made the comment about them maybe certain parts of these of the victims resembling his mother, and Mary being that, maybe the face,
mm,
so it does make me believe that that could be something that could be um why he did what he did. Maybe this was his plan all along. He went to school for this and he just decided that one day he was just going to show people that he could kill,
mm,
basically, the
yeah,
the rat, I'm just gonna say, the rats that are in the street. And back
yeah,
then, the ones that were mostly in the streets were the prostitutes.
oh yeah,
Yes.
So
yeah,
yeah, I really do think that Mary had something
yeah.
that resembled.
And you have to remember that Mary was the only one out of all of them that I think, if I remember, that he killed inside. The
Yes.
others were
Yes.
all found
Yes.
outside. So it's such a big jump, from all of these murders being really public, really out display, and then all of a sudden behind closed doors. Like, what's the difference here, mate? What
Yeah.
I
happened? You know?
I do believe the first one was kind of like in a backyard.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
it was outside, but it was still in a private area.
it
Yeah.
was it was like, yeah, because I think they said that she was kind of close to a door of some sorts. Like, there was, because when he
Yeah, it
was
was a gateway, they
walking,
said.
yeah, and he saw her, like, she was pretty close to what would have been like private property. And so when Mary Ann Nichols was killed at the time of, you know, there was honestly this entire situation with um let me see, because I did have the list
Does
here.
anyone remember how old they were?
I don't
Mm,
think they said their
hold on.
age, did they? I think Mary Jane Kelly
Oh,
was the only one that had the age.
victims. Let's have a look. Right, so the first one was 43,
Mm,
second was 47, third 44, Catherine was 46, and the last one, which was Mary Jane Kelly, was 25.
yeah, she
That's a
was.
bit of a jump.
That
Yeah, it
is.
is.
That is a big difference because
I
if you
don't
look
think
at
we ever discussed their ages in the first podcast, did
No,
we?
we didn't. Hold on. No, we did not. So like we can, yeah, let's talk about their ages and how that's like.
Say real quick, there is a lot that we're already covering in this podcast that we did not cover the last time.
Yeah, definitely we are. Um, why isn't that working? But anyway, but I honestly think,
Because that's a big age difference from being in their 40s to 20 some years old.
yeah, that was
yeah.
definitely yeah. Because if you're talking to like a lot of what do you call them, criminal profilers, normally
Hmm.
they turn around and say that there's normally an age group that they will go for. Now the big jump could be that something, probably something triggered in, probably something happened, and that's why it was so rage bait, why it was so
Right.
angry, and it, was such a horrific scene. Why
Maybe
Mary was,
maybe the fact that Mary Jane Kelly was young, naive. Maybe she said some things. Maybe she learned a little bit about him, triggered him. Could have
mm,
something to have done, like with his mom.
yeah, maybe
Yeah,
that's the age.
Maybe.
That was the age his mum had him.
Probably.
Probably.
Yeah,
that's
and
probably
she's an innocent. Yeah,
that's
to
definitely a
him
good
she
thing.
was. Yeah, it's the one of the really quite fascinating things. You brought it up when you showed the trigger warning with the picture. One of
Uh-huh.
the most
Mhm.
fascinating things I found while I was reading up on Jack the Ripper was that the reason why the Jack the Ripper story is still well known even today and is constantly talked about is about how really descriptive the newspapers got,
Yes.
and the pictures they got. It was the only time, if you look at how murders nowadays are discussed in newspapers or articles, it is really kind of different to the way that they used to do it back then. I mean, they talked about everything that happened to those women's bodies. They
Hmm.
talked about, how they were killed, which is why I think a lot of people start to think that maybe those letters that were sent weren't sent by Jack the Ripper. Maybe it was just sent by some crazy person who,
Right.
read about the murders and decided to write up the letters about them.
Mhm.
But that was, I think, one of the reasons why it is so well known, because so much was written down. So
Hmm.
much of what happened was documented. Yes, we don't have any DNA, we don't have any bodies because sadly they're all, gone. But we do have things like a well documented clippings, we have reports, we
Mhm.
have multiple things. It is so fascinating when you look at the fact of maybe if they didn't do that, Jack the Ripper would have just disappeared,
Yeah.
and we wouldn't be talking about him today. And it's terrifying. I get why nowadays they don't put so much um, information in because, of course, they want to be able to find the proper assailant, and not have some random person come in going, "I was the one who killed him."
Right.
But yeah, it was a funny tidbit. Sorry to completely go off topic.
No, no,
It was just
no.
a funny tidbit that this person put in, and I was like, that's actually very interesting to actually say because I read some of the clippings of the murders, and they go into
Oh
real bloody
shit!
detail.
Let's get the
What?
fire.
What did you do?
the notification for a
Oh God,
gifted sub scared the crap out of her.
a gifted
Oh,
sub.
you got a
Oh, thank you.
sub.
That's my first ever
Thank you.
gifted sub.
Thank
Oh,
you,
that's
Levy,
cute.
for
Thank you.
that.
Thank you, Ma, for that gifted sub.
Oh my
Thank
god.
you. Let's
Oh
get the.
oh, god damn it. Oh my
Oh
god.
Another
God.
gifted sub to
Whoop whoop.
To
Meowtillery.
Meow. Thank you, Levy. Thank you. Meow has now a 1 month subscription. There we go.
Whoop
Nice.
whoop.
Thank you,
Nice.
Lemmy. We appreciate that.
I remember looking for all the pictures for the first podcast. I would stop and read the articles that I would find, like if it was showing the newspapers, because I was so fascinated on what happened
Yeah.
back in the Victorian London days.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
It's
like I was looking at the victims, the pictures, and the portraits that are in this one casebook are of them dead, of all of them dead,
Yeah,
and I'm sitting there going, Jesus, crying out loud.
thank you, Levy.
right.
Like, what the
Oh my
hell?
god.
Oh, but yeah, it's so different. You don't see that kind of bullcrap in newspapers now, do you?
No, no. And it's crazy how far we've come from, then and then how newspapers are nowadays. So
I mean, some of them
it's,
are dying breeds, aren't they?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I barely, I don't see, everybody uses online now. So, uh,
I mean, I tried to hit a spider once with my iPad. It didn't work as well as a newspaper. Sorry, that was a joke.
that's fine because I try to hit like one night I was trying to get something and there was a beetle in my room, so I was trying to hit it with my phone. I'm like, I probably shouldn't do that.
No, you should.
oh my goodness.
So I had to get my service dog to chase it away.
I mean, I saw a big spider once run across my bloody room, and I was just like, should I? And I picked up my phone to throw it, and then I thought, no, 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 I
Oh my
need this.
goodness.
I need this. So I was like, just sitting there going, shouting for my brother, help, because I'm so scared of spiders. I freaking hate them. So I'm just like sitting there on the couch with my legs up, going, help me. Oh, but yeah.
No.
Trust me, I get that phobia a little more than you think.
Yeah, yeah, I know you do. I know you do. Me and you when we were playing Lethal Company. Ugh.
And
Yeah.
that's Pap and I with clowns.
Oh, I hate clowns
Hmm.
too, so don't worry. I'll be there with you with clowns too. Oh, but
Oh god.
but no.
The slide does not want to work. There we go. I'm trying to get it
I was
onto
gonna say,
the.
what happened to all the nice pictures I grabbed for you for those years ago?
There we go. Okay,
Um,
I'm trying to
yeah,
keep it
right.
on the map and it's not wanting to stay on the map.
Yeah, because I was looking at that map, and the two closest together were Mary Kelly, and I think it was the first one or the second one,
Yeah, well,
Annie.
it was close.
A-
Why does it
A-
keep going back?
Annie was the second victim. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
trying to fix it, guys. I'm sorry. Okay.
I'm just getting one up myself. It's all good. So I can just randomly go, oh yeah, I should know this. But
Okay,
it's in
so
walking distance. Walking distance.
Yeah.
now, see, the thing, have you guys noticed too that these murders did partake at night? Like they weren't
Yes.
done
Yeah.
during the day, they were done at night. And that's where I'm like, okay, so he
But
knows
is
what.
that usually when prostitutes go out anyway?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. So that does make you think, going back on that subject of where we do believe that maybe his mother was a prostitute. So
Yeah.
maybe he knew like the work they did. He probably, I feel like with Mary Jane Kelly, I felt like maybe he stalked her a little bit
Hmm.
just so that, because when we're from the last victim before Mary Jane,
Catherine.
it was Catherine, right? So how
Yes.
far apart are their murders from?
Um.
Um
let's see.
30th of September to the 9th of November.
Yes.
So the
So that's a
30th,
couple of months.
yeah.
September, October. Yeah, that's over a
S-
month.
So
Yes.
Because he was doing it quite, because you had August the 31st, 8th of September, 30th of September, and then another 30th of September. So
mhm.
he killed, he killed two people in one like night, and then all of a sudden he waited a whole like
Month.
month before killing Mary Jane.
I feel
From
like
what
he
I remember, that when he was going to attack Elizabeth, someone was coming towards where they were, so he quickly killed her, then
Mm,
went to find another victim. That's what I
yeah,
read.
I remember that. Yeah, because somebody stopped him, and so he went
mhm.
and found Catherine. Yeah, yeah.
Now they did say that Jack, okay, so Jack had killed prior before the five. Now they said that there
Mm,
was early on victims. Now, which they are, if they are true, they're true, but if they're not, they're not. They said that the Ripper's first victims, let me see, her, let's see, because I was just reading this. Damn it. They said that he had early on victims from the time before he killed Mary Nichols, right? So they said
yeah.
from when he was done with Mary Jane, they said that there was murders beforehand. Now I don't remember if they named them the victims, but
There's a few.
let me see.
From
They
what I see on the site that I'm using, I think it's the same site that Catnap's using, but there's one that was before Nicholson, and it was in August 7th
they don't
of
even
that
What?
same year.
yeah.
1888.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Martha Tabram or Emma
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, the thing is,
So,
I was reading this. Hold on,
hmm
let me reread it. You talk. It's good.
oh, okay.
I'm just reading.
Uh, so, like, they said that he killed these people before the famous five. I'm gonna call them the famous five because they were mostly talked about with it. Now, if he killed these people and then went on to kill Marianne Nichols and then and then Mary Jane, this I'm just gonna say this. He knew exactly what he was doing. These were all planned murders,
Oh.
especially,
Mm,
especially Mary Jane Kelly. Because I feel like I said before, I really do think he did stalk Mary Jane, and I think he got really close to her. Um, maybe maybe there was a soft spot with her for a while. Maybe he wasn't going to kill her and then something snapped, like, just it hit him like a brick wall, and he just kind of was like, nope, she has to go. And I think
Hmm.
maybe there was an altercation between the two. There, you wouldn't be able to tell because
No.
on with Mary Jane's body, there was no sufficient evidence to show that there was a struggle between
mm.
Mary Jane and her attacker.
That is,
So
yeah.
I want to believe that maybe there was something going on between Mary Jane and um Jack. I think a lot of people didn't know that it was going on because they said that they did see her. They did see Mary when she was
Mm.
alive, and then they didn't see her when when they saw her dip out, like, like leave to go to her quarters. I don't think there's a lot of evidence that when people saw what she was doing during the day, who she was talking to, who was she hanging out, they only knew what she was doing at night because they would see her leaving with men. You know what I mean? Maybe they were talking, they saw each other quite frequently, and maybe something happened. Maybe he tricked her. Maybe they were getting ready to have an intimate moment, and he maybe had her shut her eyes or something, and like did like pursued her to trust him. And
Yeah.
I think that's something we have to think about, because like Catnap said, this man could have been very charismatic, and he was very, he probably was charming, and he probably promised a lot, like there's a lot of things that you have to think about with this sort of, you know say about, we had a small stream drop.
We did.
Yes, we
Okay.
did. I saw it.
Oh
It's all
my
good.
god. Okay. What the hell? All right. I don't know how that happened. That's crazy.
The thing is, the reason I say that he was charismatic and he probably promised like things is because back in, like I said, back in those days, they didn't have government help. Women had to do what they had to do to try and keep a roof over their head or keep their children out of. Because remember back then they had workhouses. you know,
Yes.
Mhm.
and so if you couldn't look after your kids got sent to a workhouse, and no parent would want that for their children because a lot of kids died in workhouses.
Hmm.
So and they were vulnerable. Another thing that I found
Oops.
that each um, victim did was excessive drinking.
Oh,
They were
Yes.
yes.
always drunk. They were always drunk, and that is something that I think helped Jack do what he needed to do. Because
Yes.
when you're drunk, you don't really realize what's happening around you. So it's much easier for someone to kill you if you're drunk. You know.
Exactly. Mhm.
So it's interesting because I do agree with the concept. My idea is that he was a very charismatic man, and he probably promised them all of this bull crap that I will save you, I'll get you out of here, and all stuff. Especially with Mary when she was already trying to look for money because she needed it for the house that she was staying in for her lodgings.
Yeah.
She needed
Hmm.
money. She was running around asking tons of people, I need money, I need money. And then all of a sudden, this man comes over, whispers in her ear, they laugh, and then they walk away. That tells you something that she would do anything for some bob. She would do anything for a bit of shilling. She'd do anything for that little bit of money. So, you know, that is one I think another reason why he preyed on prostitutes. I think the main one was he hated them, probably because he hated his mother because she was one. Probably, I don't know.
Mhm.
But
That
another
just makes
thing,
me think of something. Not to interrupt, that just makes me think of something. Maybe he had beef with his mom, okay?
yeah,
And just maybe he, for some odd reason, maybe she triggered the thought or he thought of it on his own, kind of tried playing to be his mother, pretended to be his mother.
Oh, like a Bates, Norman Bates sort of thing, where they pretend to be their mother.
Yes.
yeah,
That
probably,
does make, you know what, I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, it could be a what's it called, a psychotic break.
yeah,
um it could have been
Something to that effect.
yeah, it could have been a psychotic
yeah,
break that
the
probably
yeah.
triggered him to do something like that. I mean, I don't see how it couldn't. I mean, it's not impossible. It could be a possible thing. It could be a very possible factor of that. So, um,
It
but
could be, yeah,
you
but
know, yeah,
yeah.
I definitely think that there was a lot of, um, I do believe that there was something very, very dark and sinister with this man. Obviously,
Hmm.
um,
Very much role play gone wrong there, Stone.
yeah.
Yeah.
I,
Um, no, so I was just going to say regarding the Tambram
mhm.
um discovery of the body, I can understand why people think it probably was him because she was stabbed 39 times, and most of them the wounds were focused at her breasts, belly, and groin area.
Mhm.
Yeah, I can
So
see where
I can
people
understand
and
why people think that it might have been his first, especially with the fact of then if you go to Mary, the first Mary,
Mhm.
yeah,
her death was mostly the cut of the slighting of the neck to the spine, where almost her head was falling off, and they found deep wounds in her abdomen, which
That kind of brings me
it's,
back to the whole mother thing too. Think about it. That's literally all a like mother's
it's from the
area
womb.
in her
Yeah,
body. Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
Well, it's definitely as the fact that the uterus in the later victims' uterus was removed,
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
you could definitely see he had a bit of mother issues. Um, Another thing that I found pretty fascinating is that you know I don't know if you know, but in England back in those days, they had, of course, open. Um, I wouldn't call them open. They were like open lessons for people to come and watch them dissect human bodies.
Oh,
Yes.
yes. I've
And that
heard.
that was open. That was open for that was open for the public to come and watch because it was people could come and see it. Um, a lot of the times the people that were doing those lessons would talk them through what they were doing, talk about how they were removing certain organs and all that kind of jazz. That could have also been he might have just gone to a couple of those and thought himself as a surgeon, you know. But then again, he
That
could be
could
a
be
doctor.
very true.
Yeah. I also feel that the letters, the one of them that had half a human kidney come out, a lot of people back in Victorian times mortuaries, they used to pump the body before they bury it. They would pump it with a concoction of different chemicals and sometimes with wine. And the human kidney that was sent to the police had been preserved in wine. Now, back in those days, they had a really, really hard problem, very bad problem, with grave robbers because people would go dig up graves, take fresh bodies, and give them to the schools, to help with
Hmm.
doctors and all that type of thing, so they could understand the human body. Now, I would love to believe. I'm a big believer. I think there's a part of me that says yes, these letters are definitely from Jack, but it's just the way they're written. They're not written by somebody who knows the English language very well, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They're very broken at English. It's like some of the letters are twisted around, and the whole "dear boss," and it's always boss, and boss back in Victorian times was something that a lackey would call their higher up. Yeah, hey boss,
Right.
no worries, boss. Got your boss. It's I can understand with those letters why so many people believed, oh, it was a peasant. Oh, it was a peasant who did it. Oh, it was the butcher. Oh, it was somebody who came overseas and did it. And I think that's the problem is that we have all this information and some of it contradicts like some of the other information. And you're sitting there going, the hell am I reading?
Yes.
Yeah.
you know, and it's like there is no way that the person who wrote those letters and some don't get me wrong, some of the brutally mutilation that happened to these victims was really violent. It was very, just cutting. But then some of the cuts inside the body were like precision, you know. They were
Hmm.
done. He took his time with some of the bodies to cut out those organs, cut out the pieces. So I mean, there has to be some part of his brain that, he flips a
Jesus
switch and then
Christ.
he comes back. What? Oh, you got scared again.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Another rumor though is they could. I don't know if it's true because I'm from the U.S., so I don't really know that
Mm.
they were Jewish.
That was one of yes, a Polish Jewish man who
Mm-hmm.
hated prostitutes. He hated women, but mostly prostitutes. He was later incarcerated in Broadmoor a couple of months after the last death of Jack the Ripper, and he died in hospital. I think about a
Hmm.
year later. Um, I I don't know. The problem
Oh
is
my
that
god.
back in those days, oh, for God's sake.
I'm
um,
sorry, guys.
no, it's all good. I like the little animation; it's brilliant.
Thank you for those
um,
biddies.
yeah, it's there's so many different there's one person that's a painter, there's one that's a medical student,
Or-
there's one who's uh one of them was an actual doctor who was called Sir William Wilsley Gull, who was a man who had, you know, contributed with various articles, in and also contributed to the health and what we now use as some of the work he's done we use, you know.
Right.
So it's pretty. It's there's so many different people. That's why I find it so fascinating just having the talk, having a chit chat, having a good old discussion about it.
Yeah.
Because I remember watching this BBC documentary, and it
Mhm.
was them saying, this is final. This is who the Jack the Ripper was because we have this, and this." And I'm sitting there going, "But that's only half the evidence you've proven. You haven't proven the rest of the evidence. You
Yeah.
haven't
Yeah.
proven, you
I
know."
think I've seen that documentary while we were doing the research for the first
Mm,
podcast.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was a Polish immigrant or something. Another Polish immigrant they decided was definitely it. And I remember sitting there with my mum watching it, going, "But they've only answered like even not even handful of questions, you know." Yes, the guy was a butcher. Yes, he knew how to, walk around a piece of meat, but doesn't mean he knows how to butcher a human being. It's a little
Yeah.
different from that.
It was
Just
very
because
sorry.
no, so I was just going to say, just because a mortician knows how to, prepare a body, doesn't mean he knows how to prepare a roast. It's just,
Mhm.
he
Yeah,
doesn't know how to gut a bird.
Yeah, very
exactly.
much so.
And he was
It's
like he knew exactly where everything was at, like in the woman's body. Like he knew it.
mm,
And I'm just gonna say this: like a butcher knows how to cut like where like the meat is at and everything. I mean, it's not far off of knowing where the anatomy is
mm,
from a person to, but
yeah,
it's still the fact that this man knew exactly what he was doing. He cut precisely where and how. Like, he knew exactly what I mean, he got the liver, he got the
yes,
he got
kidneys.
the kidneys, he ended up getting there was ovaries that were removed. I mean, there
Hmm.
was just a lot of things that pointed out that this man was definitely some sort of surgeon or some sort of medical expert. Like he knew what he was
Yeah,
doing.
Yeah.
yeah,
So I definitely believe that he was a doctor, and I'll always keep for that method. Now, there were some things that when I did this TikTok about Jack the Ripper, it was asked, and there was one lady in the comments that sat there and said that they also thought that it was a female. However, I think back then it was very rare to see females as doctors. Not saying that
it was. Yeah,
it wasn't impossible, but a lot
no,
of
that was
them
very few.
it was
Yeah,
very rare to see females as
mm,
doctors. So I mean, it could possibly have happened that it was a female, but I don't believe that it was a female. I
no,
honestly do believe that it was a man that had a vendetta against these women, and there's so many things to think about
yeah.
with it. A
It's
lot.
it's also. Sorry, no, you
No,
go.
no, go on,
Keep pushing
William.
in. Um, no, I was just gonna say also it's very unusual for women to be that violent when they kill. Women
Mhm.
Yeah.
don't make messes. Women
No.
more likely that they don't like making mess. We don't like mess, you see. We don't like bloody mess. That's what we don't like.
I
But
can
still,
attest to that because my grandma is very, very,
yeah. I mean,
and I live with her too, so she makes sure the house is clean.
Yeah, I agree with Vampy. It was very hard
yeah.
around that time for women to get any type of education. And
Yes,
any type of
exactly.
education that they did get, they couldn't use it. It was hard for
No.
them to use that as
Mm,
a job opportunity as it is now.
mm,
So
yeah.
I
Back
def
then, you go.
no, go on, go
Just
on.
kick me. Smack me,
No.
Kat. Just hit me. Okay? Just hit me around the fucking face.
You're
Um,
good.
I was just gonna say because most women were just taught how to sew, how to be housewives. That's what they were mostly taught. Definitely the high posh women. The posh women were taught how to be good wives,
All
and
right.
Mhm.
the poor peasant women were just taught that you're going to get sold at 16 to be a husband to somebody and you just to a wife to somebody, you're just going to have to deal with it. You know, women back then were just seen as, well, breeding, you know, oh yay,
Yes,
children,
Mm-hmm.
go and have kids, you know.
Yeah, just you were just there to just look pretty and bear children. That was it.
pretty much, especially
Yep.
back then.
Yep. But like Lemmy said, poison is mostly what women did when they
Yeah.
when they killed. Poison or smothering, and even when smothering comes around, it's normally they drug the person beforehand. Because sad to say, I know people. I'm going to probably get some backlash here. Women are not as some women are not as strong as men.
This
No.
is
Um,
true. This
it's a
is
bit difficult for women to kill men. Okay, other women they could probably do, but again, the violence and the bloodiness of these killings, I really don't think are women. Because
mm,
you look at any serial killer of a woman, and you will find the most prolific serial killers that were women were poisoners. They
Yeah.
would poison their kill. They would poison their people.
mm-hmm.
Like Black Widows, they were always poisoned their husbands. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't openly kill. You know, or if they did kill, they would do it in such a way to make it look like a suicide or make it look like
Violent
Yes.
different
kills
things.
amongst women were anomalies. Yeah.
Yes, that's true, Vampy. Yeah, they were.
It
It's
it
And
very very weird.
it's
and to
and
look at the victims that he did, you can tell a woman couldn't do that to them.
no,
Mm.
no. It was he had he it was more strength over anything. He knew he had, especially especially with the
Yes, I
last
agree, Lemmy.
last victim. It was definitely that. I'm about to violently kill violently kill me out. Oh, okay. Whoa.
Jesus Christ, guys.
What happened? Levy is a
Oh,
black widow. I can confirm. My God, poor Levy.
oh God. But no, it's yeah, that is something that has never crossed my mind that Jack the Ripper could be a woman
Mhm.
because it's just how violent these murders are. I I know, look, don't get me wrong, women power and all this kind of stuff, but I don't think a woman could do these kinds of killings
No.
and also it's just the violentness of the area of the groinal area of the fact that the uterus was removed and all this type of stuff. That sounds, and I'm sorry to say, but that sounds like a man who just really hates women.
Oh,
Really, really,
exactly. Yeah,
really.
Especially if he has mother issues.
Yes,
I definitely
big mama
believe that
issues.
he does. A part of me is starting to lean more that it was probably a mother thing, and you know, I feel in my I f- I feel like this is always going to be a mystery, and like I think that's what keeps it people just guessing and guessing and makes it
Mm.
comes with up with more theories with which can better it or it can make it sound like I don't think that's and like there was one time I did hear that I did read up that it it could have been one of the princesses of Queen Victoria's
Sons or something,
son
yeah.
or
Bastard.
yeah,
Bastard
Yeah.
sons.
or one of her grandsons or something like that. Yeah. And they said that they was saying that, one of the prostitutes got really close to him, which is funny because I'm going to say this. If you've never seen that movie From Hell, okay,
Yes, I've
they
watched that.
do put that in there. They do
Yes.
put that is the whole plot of that movie. If you've never seen that movie, that is a Johnny Depp movie, and you like Johnny Depp, go watch that movie. It
Yeah,
is
it's a
a
good movie.
good movie. I
It's a
absolutely
good
love
movie.
it, and I think that like the way that they did it, the way that they handled that story is it could be. It does make you think that
Well, it's yeah.
you know
It's like you were saying. Yeah.
it's a possible thing that a prostitute got close to a royalty and there was probably something that didn't work out very well and it ended up becoming violent and somebody decided, well, I'm going to take it upon myself and fix the issue. But it still does not make sense with the last murder. Why was Mary Jane Kelly's body completely butchered. Like
Mm.
it does not make sense. All the other killings were not as bad, but this was bad. Like it was horrible. She was
Yeah,
unrecognizable.
she
So
was
it
she was unrecognizable, and it was humiliation to her own body.
yeah, like
Yeah.
so it doesn't make sense if it was somebody that was part of like protecting the crown or whatever. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. It's like again, it's a possibility, but I don't think
Mm,
it really is. Like I don't
The,
think
the
so.
yeah, the thing that you have to understand is back in those days, a lot of the nobility, especially the lords and the ladies and stuff, they came from the line of royalty. So while they might not have been classed as royalty, they still were the line. So they still, how do I put this? They still, they called the queen their second or third cousin or something like that. They
Yeah.
Hmm.
A lot of the times, a lot of the main um uh like the whole concept of nowadays duchess and all that type of things are given to the most, like the Duchy of Sussex, Duchy of Cambridge, and all that type of
Yeah.
is given to quite close to family, so like the children or the grandchildren. But back when Victoria was around, and a lot, and back in those days, it was actually given to um, descendants that were so far back from the crown from ever becoming king or queen that that's where they went. Like the earls of Shrewsbury and all the others were all related to the crown in some way. They
Mhm.
all
Hmm.
came from the crown. So that's one of the reasons why I like From Hell, because it talks about something that is really interesting with the fact of one, um, the royalty was everywhere because that's what most of the upper class was, the royalty, because nobles were royal as well.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
two, the concept of you have to understand that back in those days, um, it was seen as a, if there was any kind of what, how do I put it? If there was any kind of um a stain on, say, like your son decided to go and mess around and do something that wasn't right and stuff like that. It
Right.
wasn't the son that would get the punishment, it is the whole family. You would literally, like, great big rich families were destroyed just because their son decided to have a bastard child with a prostitute,
Mhm.
it destroyed families. So it, could you imagine that a upper class twat of a man found out his son was going around mutilating prostitutes? He's going to just hushly put them in a madhouse, and just pretend he didn't exist. It's
Hmm.
Yeah.
better than him being come out and then the whole family is ruined. Uh, there was a lot of we must keep the family name safe kind of bull crap, back in those days.
Yes.
So that is one of the reasons why I like From Hell, and it's one of the reasons why I do abide by that ideology, is that I do believe that Jack the Ripper was put away somewhere because I feel his family found out,
Yeah.
about what he was doing, and so they thought better that he just disappears and nobody else needs to worry about him. And if anybody asks, he's gone to one of the colonies or something, he's gone to India, he's gone to somewhere because he's a doctor or something, so he's going to go and do his doctoring somewhere else. It's easy to explain him disappearing than
Mhm.
sitting there and saying, yes, my son's the murderer, you know, because
Yeah.
there has been families that have been completely destroyed because one of their, that's why it's such a big cliche in movies and detective TV series and stuff, when the upper class snotty man runs home to daddy and says, daddy, 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 I've killed the woman I'm messing around with. And he goes, don't worry, son, we'll cover it up,
Yeah.
because it's the pariah that will come out of the constant barraging of the fact that my son's killed someone. You've now ruined
Hmm.
the family. You've ruined the family name. It's yeah. It's But no, Vampy is right there. The royal family falling for prostitutes was a big no-no.
Yeah, it
Couldn't
was
do that.
Yes.
definitely a big no-no. And one of the things that she did said the royalties fall I wonder how much incest and happened to keep the lines pure. And to be honest, like there it over the it was big. Everybody was marrying their cousins. It was
I
it
Victoria, yeah. Victoria married all of her children to every single royal family in the world.
Yeah.
Right.
So our late queen, and our king is related to every single royal family that's still around.
Yep.
Um, that's why that's why William was allowed to marry a commoner, Kate, to clean the blood, as the late queen said. But then you've got the Habsburgs, which were another royal family that inbreded like freaking to the point that their legs pointed out the wrong way.
Oh my god.
They're not like frogs.
Oh,
Seriously,
Oh
no.
my
You
god.
look up King Philip II, and you will see that his legs were just like a frog, sideways, and they were ugly as sin.
Oh my god.
Sorry, I'll stop now.
They were ugly like shit.
They were ugly as sin. They were ugly as sin. They
Oh
really
my
were.
god. Oh, that's scary. No, no, but it is a thing. It does happen, unfortunately. Um, but let's
well, it could be when they decided to put him away, air quotes, when they decided that there were Ripper murders related here in America.
yeah, there was Ripper murders that were here. So after Mary Jane Kelly, it stopped. Okay, it
Mm.
stopped. And then the US started to they were starting to find out that there was crazy murders going on in London, and they were just like they were freaked out about it. And so they ended up, not long after those murders happened, the murders started to pick up, but not in London. It was happening in New York. And
Oh.
when that it started to get very violent, people here were starting to say they were going to lynch people, or they would threaten people. It got really violent at the time. So there's a lot um, of things that Jack has, um, what is that word called? Kind of made a big outburst from, it made it
Yeah.
so crazy it was making people literally fear about going out at night. And the thing about the killings in New York, they weren't hmm, they weren't so much of a the he wasn't murdering, just he was murdering like children in New York. It
Yeah.
wasn't it
I was.
wasn't it was not like women. It was he was
Oh, it's
stalking.
him.
Yeah. And see, that
Oh, he
that's
built
the
the house.
thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So the New York Ripper murders, or they referred the murdered two children on the east side of Manhattan in New York, and between March and May of 1915. So that is a long freaking time from
Yes.
when they
Yeah, that's way
stopped
too long.
and from when they started again. And I'm gonna say this right now. This is a copycat murder. Okay, this is a
Oh yeah.
copycat, but this time it was with children. It wasn't
Yeah.
for little kids. And I think what happened was, this is what I believe happened. A lot, as they like to say, like the word hysteria or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
hysteria,
Hmm.
it was happening. And that's what, like I was telling you, like people started becoming violent and they were threatening people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think what it was that at the time, the only murders that got really completely insane, we're gonna bring him up. I can't believe I'm gonna do this. Is H. Holmes. Okay, so
Mm.
he rocked when the murders.
Disclaimer: her
My,
Harley Quinn side might come out.
when
Yeah.
the murders happened, when okay, so they bounced, the murders, they did happen. So this, they bounced around uh from 1880s 80s to like the late 18, like between 1890 or 18 like 99, like that's where I'm going to put it.
Mm.
So when they were bouncing around, they were obviously trying to find who this murderer was, like who Jack was. And there's a small little window, okay, that they believed that H.H. Holmes was Jack the Ripper because of the small little window, okay, that
Yes.
he was
Yeah.
in London, but he wasn't there for very long. He was there in early 1881, 82, around there, and he
Yeah.
left, and then he was gone. He came back to the US, he went back to Illinois and doing his weird crap that he was doing, okay? And he
Yeah.
wasn't there's just no way. There's no way that this man was, but that's what they thought. And then
Yeah.
now in New York, they have these murders going around, killing children. It was only two children. I mean, it's sad,
It
regardless.
Yeah.
is.
But then in Texas, they had the maid murders, and they were saying that it was Jack the Ripper. This man had to have been at least 100 years old. There is just no
Yeah.
freaking way that he
And
could have been doing all this. Like,
Hmm.
well, Pap, it's also not that. It's just, it's not his MO. If you look here, he was the one who under the name Dr. H. Holmes, he was the one who built a property known as Murder Castle, where
mm-hmm.
he fitted it
Yes.
with secret passageways, trapdoors, soundproof rooms, doors. That doesn't sound like Jack the Ripper.
No, it
No, it
doesn't. It
That
doesn't.
doesn't
doesn't. No.
sound like the way that Jack did. Gas jets was that to asphyxiate victims. A cremation area to burn the bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
It's while I get what they're saying, they're trying to find out who it is and all this other stuff. This guy probably saw what was happening, you know, with Jack the Ripper and thought, you know what, I'm gonna try and get myself into that kind of crap.
Yeah.
And I think he was already killing even way before, because it says
Yeah.
here that he was killing in that house way before Jack the Ripper started killing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
He
so
was. He definitely
yeah,
was.
And the
so
fact that I found a article called "Was America's First Serial Killer Jack the Ripper Monster Behind the Murder Castle" doesn't sound right to me.
No, and
no,
that's another thing that we need to like think about as well, is that these people that were that they're okay. For instance, H.H. Holmes, why would he murder somebody in a foreign country that he's never been to? Like, he
mm,
doesn't know the roads, he doesn't know anything around Whitechapel or where the prostitutes were at. Now, that is a lot to take in. Like, me moving into a new state or whatever, it takes a while for me to know where I'm at. Okay, like
yeah,
Same.
I'm not gonna know the back
same, same.
alleys like the snap of my hand. And it takes years, sometimes years, for people to even realize, oh, I didn't know I had an alley in the back of my backyard. Like,
Yeah,
so like there's things like that. Like, why would he go, and he would have to figure out the loopholes, the way to escape, the way, I mean, Jack was very, he knew what he was doing. He knew he left when he knew when the cops were walking around, right? I mean, like there was a lot of things that don't make sense. So
yeah.
anybody
He
that's,
grew up.
yeah, like
Yeah,
there's just no way. I do not believe 150 freaking percent that H.H. Holmes is not Jack the Ripper. Like, I do not believe that. And people need to stop saying that because there is no proof. There's no physical proof
yeah,
just because there was a small little window,
yeah.
you
And
know?
not just that, though, Pap. You're talking about the guy who created Murder Castle. That's more of a freaking architecture or an engineer than a damn fucking doctor.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
Jesus
Yes.
but
Christ.
see,
I
here
mean,
is the thing why they say that he was, and but that he was because he did go to school for it, but he
yes, he
failed
went to medical. But he's a
he did,
mediocre,
yeah.
mediocre. Yeah,
So he did fail He didn't do very well, and he wasn't even a good doctor. Like, he did not. Oh, that's what it was. They were saying in that video that we were watching, saying that the doctor that they believed was Jack the Ripper, he performed. I'm sorry, he performed. This is going to be heavily triggered, but he performed a an abortion, and it went wrong, and it killed the lady that was trying to abort the fetus.
Mm.
And
Hmm.
so when he did that, that's when he went downhill. So they were saying that this man was the reason why he became Jack the Ripper, because he had a strong hate towards women because of that. And it's like, that doesn't sound right. Like, to me, I'm
No.
sorry. No, no, absolutely not. Like, just saying.
It's
But that.
it's like they tried to grab everybody who had some kind of medical, you know,
Mhm.
background and say, oh, and oh, he's a murderer as well. He's Jack the Ripper, and you're sitting there going, but they don't line up, you know. And
Yeah.
also, can we talk about how long a trip was from America to the UK back then? They didn't
Yeah.
Yeah.
have planes. They went on a
No.
boat.
Yeah, there was no planes. It didn't exist. It didn't
No.
exist,
No.
guys.
Didn't
God.
exist. Jesus Christ!
You
God
guys.
damn it!
I mean, can you imagine going on a boat from America to the UK nowadays?
Yeah,
I
It would
mean,
yeah,
still take that long.
yeah.
yeah, it would.
But it's like
Um,
it takes days for them to do it. So why in the hell would he go all the way to in England to on a on a boat? It's not like it's the red eye and he's just going to be there the next day for Pete's sake. I
yeah.
mean,
Right.
he can't be in two completely different areas of the world. At the same time. It's just no, no. That would piss me off. I understand your Harlequin moment there. I really do.
See,
That would pee me
exactly.
off.
But you should have heard me the other day. I was just like, no, 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 no. Now that
And
doesn't sound right. Like,
I was waiting for her to go full on Harley Quinn on the video.
I like I personally, when it comes to Jack the Ripper, I feel there's not, it's not a love thing. It's just, when you've read so many things for so many years, and then like you hear somebody coming out of, like, pulling something out of their arse or whatever, and they're
Yeah,
like,
ask.
yeah, they're just like, but it could have, no, leave it be. Nobody knows. Nobody will ever
Yeah,
know. I don't think anybody will ever know who Jack. I'm like, what is? And honestly, what are they gonna do? Come on now, this guy's been dead for, like, he has been dead. Like, he's dead. He's so dead. What are you gonna do? Go to his, finally find out where he's buried at, and like handcuff him, his bones or
yeah,
Right.
something? Like, what?
yeah.
There's
He
nothing you could
was,
do.
yeah, he was the very first London boogeyman. That's what he was. That's what they
Mm-hmm.
call him in London. When I went and did when I went and did the tour, and then when I did London Dungeons, they turn around and call him London's first boogeyman because people were terrified.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
Yeah.
I believe
prostitutes
it.
were terrified. They were scared that they were going to be next, and it's and to be honest with you, while it is a very, and like you were saying, it's not that I'm the same. It's not that I love Jack the Ripper. I
Mm-hmm.
find him fascinating. I
Exactly.
find the whole concept fascinating
I
because
do too.
out of this um cacophony, I guess you could say, of information, so many amazing things have come out of it. I mean, you look at it. Sweeney Todd was based off of Jack the Ripper. You've
Hmm.
got Jekyll and Mr. Hyde based off of Jack the Ripper. You've got amazing stories that have been around. I mean, even Hitchcock, based one of his movies off of Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper is the way he is because he is the boogeyman. He is literally the boogeyman. It's like the whole concept of looking in the mirror and saying Bloody Mary 3 times. He
Right.
is he's you could say in this country he's what little kids, just what parents tell little kids. If you're not good, you're gonna get eaten by Jack the Ripper. That type of stuff.
Right.
But I guess that's why he is so admired. I guess you could say, to the fact that For all we know, he could probably have just been a mad person in
Mm-hmm.
one
Hmm.
day, and like at night he just changed, or when he was probably a very well dressed, well to do, charismatic man. But at the moment, you know, these women said or did or even just moved or smelt the way that he remembered from his past, he just like that snapped.
Yeah. No,
And it's
definitely.
such a and back then in those days that wasn't something that they understood, and it's so
No.
fascinating reading the way that the police tried to figure out, who is this man, and also not just that, but also the backlash afterwards when they didn't find out how many people quit their jobs because of it. How many
Yeah.
police
Yes.
officers resigned. You know, sitting there going, bloody hell, And they all blame Scotland Yard and all this type of stuff. And I'm sitting there going, I mean, yeah, you can blame people, but back then they didn't have things like we have, They
No,
didn't
not
have
okay.
DNA testing. They didn't have very good, what do you call it? Forensic science like we do now. And even now, it's so new that sometimes we make mistakes, you know?
Mm-hmm. No, I mean it's a lot to think about with
It is.
everything that happened. And one of the things I want to take note about the New York murders is that the reason why they believed that it was Jack the Ripper, okay, was because they got letters that were
Mm,
quote unquote signed by Jack. And I don't think we talked about the letters yet,
no.
but there were the
No.
reason why that I'm bringing it up now is because back when Jack was murdering people, um, the police ended up getting letters from Jack, and they were signed with his tag name, like I'm gonna call it tag name. He with his name, Jack the Ripper.
Mm.
Um, so when these murders took place in New York, they were signed, and it definitely said, I'm gonna read one of the letters. Okay, it says this is to one of the victims. They sent it to the parent to one of them. So, dear Mrs. Cone, just in line to let you know that the person that is accused of writing the letters is to you is innocent. Now, this is okay. They're saying, I am the fellow that wrote you the letters, as I said before, the man that keeps his ears open, mouth shut, will always get along with never get caught. Some days that I get the chair, I may confess, but as long as I am out, they can never get me. Kindly give an enclosed letter to the police and tell them I wrote it. H.B. Richmond, Jack the Ripper. So he practically this guy gave himself away by saying that his name was H.B. Richmond and then quoted that he has been Jack the Ripper. But you also have to understand that the timing of when the murders of 1888
Mm.
to 1915, that
Oh,
was
it's been yeah.
that's quite some time. Now, I'm not saying that Jack was not old, but I am saying what I mean is like he wasn't like dead or whatever. But there's a
No,
good possibility that yeah, maybe he did leave London and he ended up going to the US, but I don't think he would have continued the murders. I think
no.
with Mary Jane, he was done with. Like he finished
Mm.
what he started. And
I agree with that.
Yeah.
so I think that these killings are I think that it's just something that it's just a copycat, but they're because honestly, Jack could have killed anybody in the times when he did kill the prostitutes. He could have killed anybody. He could have killed women. I mean, he did kill prostitutes, but he could have killed men. He could have killed children. He could have
Could have killed
killed,
upper class women.
yeah, huh?
He could have killed upper class women,
Yeah, upper
Yeah,
class
upper
women.
class.
Upper
normal upper
class.
class, just normal women, just other women, not
Yeah.
prostitutes.
Yes.
Yeah.
All types of women. No, he picked prostitutes for a reason. you
Yeah, there's a definite
know?
reason behind all this. And like I don't like I said, this has to be a copycat. The especially the ones in Texas, like there's not a lot on them.
Yeah. I
Um
don't think anything here in America was Jack,
no, I
to
don't
be
either.
honest.
I think everything was a copycat. And uh, I honestly feel like if you're going to believe that HB Richmond, aka Jack the Ripper, was this person, I think that you need to actually do your research. Like I'm just
Yes.
saying.
Yeah.
And so there
Yeah.
there's I think he had I honestly want to believe that um children were a no-go for him when it came to
Mm,
killing. He knew what he
Mhm.
was doing. He knew exactly what his eyes were targeting. Um and I think that at the end of it, he he finished what he did. And I think it act if you actually think about it, it all comes full circle for him. For whatever reason
Mhm.
happened with him in his life, whether it was the fact that his mother was a prostitute, or he would, or it had something to do with the crown, or if it had something to do with he just did not like prostitutes at all.
mm,
I honestly think that this man carried out a mission on his own, and he finished it with Mary Jane Kelly, and that was the last of it. That was the last time you heard from him. I mean, he could have easily still stayed in London and got away with it and lived out his
yeah.
life, you know? So,
Yes.
um,
Well, we know he
But
probably
this
did.
he probably
Well,
did,
we know he
this
yeah.
probably did.
there could be possibilities where he just decided that killing wasn't really his thing, so he retired.
Yeah,
Yeah.
after that last one, I mean, I don't
It
know.
can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can happen once that's why some murders sometimes you get murders that happen like a large clump of them, and then the murderer goes dormant for God
Yeah.
knows how
Mhm.
long before a trigger makes him do it again. Maybe that's what happened. He went dormant and nothing triggered him and he died. As an old
Yeah.
man. It's fascinating that it is still talked about. People still turn around and say, I want to know who Jack the Ripper was. But it's something that I found when people start putting out these, like we just discussed earlier. What does anger me is that when people say, "Oh, it was definitely this person," "Oh, it was definitely that person," and then I have to turn around and go, "Well, then what's the motive, mate?
Yeah.
Why?" Because it's all well and good you giving a name. It's all well and good you giving an ethnicity or a profession, or was he poor? Was he rich? Was he royal? Was he But why? Can you explain that to me?
Yeah.
And that is what I find. I don't think we are ever going to find out unless somebody randomly picks up the Diary of Jack the Ripper, which would be an
Mhm.
amazing thing to have. I will admit. Could you imagine if that came out?
Yes.
What
And with the
bullshit!
recent videos on like TikTok and Instagram with the real of um them actually finding his identity, I
Mm,
don't think that's real.
no, I think they like to say they have, but
Yeah.
like I said with the whole BBC thing, they made out that, oh, this is definitely who it is. This is definitely who it is. I was like, how in the world do you know when they didn't keep DNA samples back then? They didn't keep
No.
anything. You can't be 100% certain that that was definitely the person. So
Right.
use it as what it should be. It's a theory. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with a theory. We've just sat here for a good, hour and a half discussing theories, discussing what we believe is what we believe Jack the Ripper was. Doesn't
Yes.
mean that we're now going to turn around and say, oh, Wolf, I know exactly who Jack the Ripper is. It's, X, Y, and Z. Just a theory. It's just a game. No, I won't
Right.
get into that. It is. It's just. But I think that is until we get definite proof, and that is because, like I said, a love-hate relationship with the letters that were supposedly sent to the police and to the central news agency and everything. Because
Hmm.
while they do get signed as Jack the Ripper and they do say things, like I said before, they turn around and the papers turned around and said a lot about the way that the women were mutilated, weren't they?
Yes. So, how do
So
you feel when one of the letters came with one of the livers, quote unquote,
yeah.
from one of the women?
Well, that is where, as one of the thingy bob said, as I read here, I'll just give me 2 seconds. I need to find it. Here we go. So inside was half a human kidney preserved in wine, along with the letters. A medical report carried out by Dr. Openshaw found the kidney to be very similar to the one removed from Catherine, though his findings were inconclusive either way. Now, like I said before, back in those days, there was a lot of grave robbering that was happening. A lot of people was digging up fresh graves to sell to hospitals so that they could dissect and use for teaching. Because there was not enough people willing to give their bodies up for science.
Right.
And what they would do is when they were preserving the bodies before they were buried, they would preserve them in a cocktail, which normally was a large amount of wine. So
Hmm.
these bodies were literally filled with wine. So it
Yes.
makes me wonder that while, yes, that one I would love to turn around and say is definitely um, probably from the killer. But
Hmm.
again, there are other ways, there are other things you can turn around and go, well, maybe that was from something else. Maybe that was somebody who wanted their 5 minutes of fame and they stole it from a mortuary. Back
Yeah.
then they were a little bit crazy. So you're
Well,
talking
you
about,
you could actually say it could be from a animal because that could have been an animal's kidney and
exactly,
not one of the victims.
exactly. Because back then they were still trying to map out the human body. They,
Yes.
they still didn't know completely what the human body, what things looked like. They only had rough sketches. You know, that's
Yes.
why back then they needed bodies so that they could open up and dig out and find out what the body looks like. So
Hmm.
yeah, there's so many things that you could turn around and say, oh yeah, of course that's definitely Jack the Ripper. And then somebody, well, think about it this way. This is how the world was back then. You know,
Yeah.
the world back then wasn't a very nice place. We didn't have,
No.
remember, their TV was hangings,
Yeah.
they would go and watch people getting swung by their neck, being hung by their neck. That was their entertainment.
Hmm.
So you can understand that that kind of world would breed something as horrific as Jack the Ripper, or as horrific as someone stealing a kidney and
Right.
sending it to somebody. You know, it's I don't know. It's funny to as I said, it's funny to theorize all of these wonderful little tidbits, and I think I've talked far too much. I apologize.
You're fine
You're fine.
Just went
because
into a right tangent.
I usually like to ask the questions anyway because I
Yeah.
used to do that when I was admin to the channel.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's good. Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Well,
Is
did
It's
speaking of, that's when we first started talking about Jack. Is when I asked about who was someone's favorite serial killer or anti-hero,
all
and
right.
that's when Jack first came up.
Yep. All right. Does anybody have any questions, even like in between us two? Like, is there any questions or anybody in the chat? Does anybody want to ask anything?
can be anything,
It could
anything,
be
any chat wants.
anything. Yeah. Do we even have? Do we also
Do you
have?
want to bring up anything that has like Jack the Ripper, as far as the game that I know you don't care to hear about is the Assassin's Creed. Uh,
Oh, that one. Syndicate. Oh,
yes,
not Syndicate. Yeah.
Syndicate.
Yeah.
Jack the Ripper DLC. I know there's books about him on Audible and anywhere that you can buy books. We know there's movies about him.
Yeah. Fab.
I personally want to play the DLC. I know it's
Oh,
not it's not Jack everybody loves and knows, but I just want to see what happens.
it's good. I will admit it is very good. What makes it even better is do you know the story of the DLC, right? I'm not spoiling anything here for people.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know the story. Okay,
Yes.
cool. Pap, you do realize that the brother in Syndicate, have you played Syndicate
No, I
or know
want
of?
to though. I really do.
So the brother is played by the same person who plays Vex, the character I play as.
Oh, really?
He is the voice of the brother, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
sweet.
Jacob.
And yeah, Jacob. And in the correct me if I'm wrong, Wolf, and I'm really sorry if I'm ruining this for you, Pat, but in the DLC, Jacob is Jack, isn't it?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Jacob is
But
Jack.
so Vex is yes. Apologies. Trying not to ruin it for Pat, but I'm like,
Oh my god!
oh, just spoiled it. Shit.
Well, hell.
It's it's a good DLC, and it's a yeah, it's a
Yeah,
good yeah.
I
Pat,
I
you
mean,
must
definitely
play
have
like
to.
Syndicate.
I said, I know it's not like the real Jack, but then
No.
again, they're in I think it's the one before or the one afterward where they had a murder that was similar to Mary Jane Kelly's
Mm,
murder.
yeah. Oh yeah. It's well done. That's one thing I like about some of the Assassin's Creed is that they they do it well, but they do it into their own kind of style, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is, you know, I'm all for that. Like I said, it's like one of the reasons why I like the movie From Hell, why I like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, why I like Sweeney Todd. You know, they do it their own way, and you know
Yeah.
what? I don't really mind. And you know, it gets people talking about Jack the Ripper. You know, which is always good because you know I like a good bit of English history.
Yes.
I mean, I think that's why I ended up
I
loving
like
From Hell.
history in general, but I
Yeah.
like learning about Victorian London.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah, you are. I could tell you the stories because I had to do my A level in uh Victorian England. Hmm. Yeah, the great stink. The great stink. You got the great stink of the Thames, where it was the hottest day in London, and the Parliament all opened their windows, and because back in those days, where they dumped their sewage was in the Thames,
Right.
because it was so hot that it boiled the Thames to the point that it started stinking of all the excrement and all of the lovely things. So it was the only time Parliament had to remove themselves and they could not sit for a whole day because of it. So it's
Wow.
called the Great Stink.
Oh
Yep, the
my
Great Stink of
goodness.
London. Yep. Yeah, we had to learn about that.
Wailing.
Yeah. It's fun. It's good. It is good, and you get to learn all about medicine because Victorian times was back when the medicine, you know, was happening, where they found out about ether, where they found out about, you know, how to knock people out during or you know surgeries. It's Victorian England is very gory but fascinating.
Right.
Yes.
You know,
Mhm.
it's worth.
I think I've said this before to Catnap. I have a very big fascination with anything that has to do with uh you know with where England, London, and stuff like
Mm,
that. I have like I've always have since I was really little, and you know just with now learning certain things about crime, like crimes and stuff that happened there, and there was this show that I watched on Netflix that says street I think it's called The Streets of Ripper or whatever,
mm,
and it talks about like other murders that happen besides the Jack the Ripper ones, that because they said that the murder Jack the Ripper's murders were actually was so big, like it was just it was
Hmm.
overtaking,
all
it
the
was
others.
on the
Yeah.
spotlight more than what was going on with the other murders. And a lot of murderers at the time, because they were trying to figure out who Jack was, a lot of people were getting away with
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
murder. So because they were just so focused on trying to figure out who Jack the Ripper was. And
Yeah.
it's very interesting when you find out about a lot of the events that happened around the time when Jack decided that he was going to murder people. So,
Oh,
Hmm.
yeah.
it was the most at the time. Jack the Ripper was the most violent murders that London had
Mhm.
ever seen.
Yeah.
So they of course took it very seriously
Yeah.
because they didn't want any more of them. But as you put it, they then forfeited stopping all of the other murders, which, as we found, a lot of them people think actually was Jack the Ripper, and others, which I read a couple of the other victims that were around, which they believe might have been his, do not match his MO
No.
at all.
Right.
Doesn't
There
match it.
was a one thing I remember watching with my when I got a little older and I was watching with my parents. They also believed that after his murders he was actually submitted to they knew who he was and they kept it hidden, but they submitted him into a psych ward. And back
Yeah.
then lobotomy was just starting to
Mm,
come around. But
yep.
I don't think they were calling it lobotomy at the time. I think it was something else. I don't remember what it was, but it was very they said that they by the time he even left, they let him go. I don't think he even if he was able to be let go from a psych ward and he doesn't remember what he did, I think he it's gone to his grave. Like there's like we'll never ever really know. And
Yeah.
I honestly think at the end of the day, though, with all this, like everything that we've learned about with Jack the Ripper, I want to say that mysteries, it's a mystery for a reason. It's a mystery to make us keep thinking of what could happen. And although this was a horrific thing that happened in London,
Mm,
this is something that keeps you on your toes to make you like, well, what if it's this? It makes you guess. And
Hmm.
um I'm sad that it did happen though to the victims. Nobody should have to die like
No, not like that.
no,
like that ever. And
no.
regardless at what part of any country, nobody should die like this. And I do believe though that this person did have a vendetta against these women, and I do believe that he had formed a relationship with Mary Jane Kelly, and I do believe he murdered her out of pure passion, and it shows it. And we'll never know. I don't even know. I don't know who he is. The only thing I feel like I know about him is that he was a doctor.
Right.
He knew what he was doing. He had a plan and he went with it. So, I mean that's how I take it. And I don't know how you guys take it. That's how I take it.
I'm in the same boat with you, Pat, because you and I talk about this all the time
Yeah.
when we have our stories writing,
Mhm.
and if it wasn't for Jack the Ripper, I probably would not be in the horror scene. I know you and Stone had to kind of pull me in a little bit more, but he's the one that kind of started me to get more and more into the horror scene.
Yeah. I would have to say he's probably um I wouldn't say he's a influence, but I will say he's the influence of starting of mysteries and um everything behind it and what caused him or why it happened. What do
Right.
you say, Catnap? How do you think about all this?
I I do think he was probably an upper class man. I do believe he
Mhm.
was an upper class man. I do believe that he was either a doctor or a failed surgeon who
Right.
possibly went through the whole of medical school but probably flunked or did something which ended up with him losing his license.
I
um,
agree.
or turned into a teacher. He couldn't do, so he taught. Um, and I do believe that his family did find out about it, and he was probably whisked away quite quickly, or he was allowed to live the rest of his life peacefully.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Um,
that's definitely what I'm thinking towards
yeah,
the end of it too. Yeah, I think
I
there was
do believe. Yeah, I do
especially
believe.
after Kelly's
yeah.
Yeah.
murder.
Oh, yeah. And I do believe that he had some kind of vendetta against possibly a mother figure who was a prostitute. Possibly he went to go and live with his father, who was probably a very upper class man, which is probably why he even hates prostitutes even more. Probably hates
Right.
his father just as much. But yeah, and regarding the little talk about Jack the Ripper got me into most things, but Jack the Ripper got me into mostly the bloody side of history. I uh,
Yeah.
I always do enjoy the bloody side of history now because of Jack. I I look for the more macabre side of the world. Like, I became very obsessed from Jack the Ripper to the good old Spanish Inquisition and what they did with torture devices. But that's a story for another time where you guys end up hating me. Um, don't ask me what an Iron Maiden does. I can tell you everything. You know.
Right.
That's
But
great. I love that.
but no, he definitely did incite that part of history that was very curious to me. Um, that side of especially during the fact that it was during the time where, you know, the death penalty was around. The world was very different to the way it is now. I always
Hmm.
found it very fascinating that that world they found entertainment in going to watch executions. You know, that was their entertainment, and you know what? Kudos to them. I couldn't imagine that happening here, but you know, um, but yeah, no, I agree with you guys. It definitely was a stepping stone.
It
Um,
was.
it was a stepping stone for me to start looking into other things, definitely in England, that fascinated me, and then I pushed it off to all the other countries. So, um, yeah. But other than that, long live Jack the Ripper.
Long live
Right.
Jack the. Well, I think he's gonna live long in history, and I think
Oh hell
that's
yeah!
what he wanted anyway. So I think he got his wish.
Oh hell yeah!
Um,
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I will say this though. This was probably I'm gonna thank you guys. Thanks, Catnap. I'm gonna kind of end it here, but I want to
Mhm.
say some stuff before we actually end it. I want to say thank you, Catnap, for joining us today. Thank you for um, helping us. And Wolf, thank you for joining us back for this one. I'm actually excited for you to be partake on some of the other ones that we've talked about too. Um, it was fun having you back. It was fine. It was actually a really good talk that we had with this. I think we covered practically almost everything, and
Hmm.
with
Mhm.
resources, and we had a great time. So thank you so much, you guys. You guys pat yourself on the
And
back,
if
you guys.
you ever revisit the Donner Party, I will be happy to come back in.
I think we should revisit the Donner Party. Why not? That was an
Hell yeah!
interesting one.
That was the
Jesus.
first podcast that I was ever in too.
Was it the
We'll most
Donner?
likely revisit that one.
Yeah,
We'll
most
revisit
Because
likely.
everything. It's
I
fine.
Yeah.
I I was Stone's replacement for that night.
Oh God.
Yes. Yes, you were. I remember that.
He's my
Uh,
stand-in.
there. I
Well,
was gonna.
that's what brothers do, right?
Well, they make.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this. It has been so far a really fun time doing these podcasts and finding a good balance with them. We're sorry that we had not done a podcast in a while. It took us a while to figure out how we were wanting to do this for you guys and everything, and we just been really busy and trying to get the Red Door back out there. There's a lot of stuff happening this year for the Red Door, and I'm actually very excited. I don't know if I said in the last podcast, but we actually have a spot for the Red Door Horror to be in a convention, And so it's a big step. It's very big. I'm kind of nervous because I've never thought of doing this for the Red Door, but I think it would help us with the podcast, and I think it would help us develop a little more and what we want to succeed for the Red Door and what we see for the Red Door in the future. Um so there's a lot of that happening. We also want to do some ghost hunting as well, like actual hunts. Like go and
I'm still waiting to go to that hotel with y'all.
I
I'm still waiting to try and get there too
yeah,
myself.
yeah, we're trying to figure out what we should go first, uh to especially with donations with money we can use that to get stuff for expensives that we need, like you know recorders and all that. But that's not we're not that's just something that we have thought about. And everything that the Red Door works really hard for goes towards what we're doing now. And so I'm really happy where we're taking this from. And I want to say thank you all, especially our podcast guests. And thank you guys for being part of this. We've come a very long way, and I finally feel like we can put our foot through the door. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Hmm.
thank you. Everybody loves a party. Yes, everybody loves a party. We'll be dragging Lemmy with us to those hauntings too. Yep.
Chaos
Yes.
of the year.
And catnap when we can. Who knows? Maybe we'll go out to. It is a talk. We have been talking to Catnap about going out
The
there.
UK.
Yeah, we've been talking
There
about
are
it,
tons of haunting
and
spots that
I
you can
would
go to.
love to do that. The
There's
only
I
too
would
thing
let.
many.
Uh huh.
I definitely would have to probably drink something though before I
I wouldn't mind
go.
going to the Jack the Ripper tour either.
Oh my.
No, we definitely
Yeah,
have
we'll
to do
drag
that.
you with.
Yep,
Yeah. Yeah,
definitely
no.
gonna go.
And I'll definitely take you guys to like the London dungeons and stuff like that
Oh
because they
my
do a
god,
good
yes.
show. They do amazing shows as well there, and it's
Yeah,
so good.
I can be with y'all, and Grandma can visit her friend that just moved back to the UK.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, we can all hang
Great.
out. Good. All right. So, um, next podcast, we have decided that we're gonna do mermaids. We're gonna revisit the mermaid
Oh,
and
I
siren.
remember doing that one.
Yeah, it was going smoothly, but the freaking sex comment section. So we want to go ahead and do that. There's a lot of lore about it, and we want to go ahead and do that. So that will be in May.
Hmm.
It will be the last Friday of May. Let's see.
I don't know
Vampy
if
has
I'm
said
gonna.
she really wants
I don't.
to dive in that with us too.
I don't know if I'm gonna be here for that one because I'm going to California. Otherwise, I would say be all over that.
Okay,
The
honey, that's fine.
30th of May.
The
The
30th of May.
30th
Yeah.
of May
Did you say we
is
asked
the
who,
last
babe?
Friday.
Vampy messaged me during the podcast asking about if it was going to be mermaids, and if it was, she said she really wouldn't mind deep diving into research and doing that with us.
Okay, yeah, we will definitely
I'm
be doing.
also happy to pop up for that one as well. If
Okay, yeah.
you'd like me, I'm
Oh
okay.
God, yes.
Tell me to
You.
fuck off. Just tell me to fuck off if I'm not welcome. It's
No,
fine.
No,
no.
Nothing.
no,
You.
never.
You are part
But
of this.
definitely don't do the wear animals without me.
No, no,
Oh no, it'll
no.
Oh
be for when
yes,
you're around.
Okay, so
same
the
here.
so the
Love
30th
werewolves
of
and vampires.
of May is the last Friday, and it will be at, okay, I'm gonna say it right now, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. Okay, so we will put the times on it for where it would be for other people too. Uh, so if you are wanting to know and where the legend, the lores, and everything where it came from, go ahead and stick around for May 30th, and we'll definitely tell you guys. I guess I don't know. All right, so
I like
let's
that.
go.
Huh?
So let's stick around for a raid. Let's go see who we're gonna raid tonight. Let's raid somebody new. Let's see, who do we have? Um, gonna look. Give me 1 minute yet. Okay. Let's see. Who shall we raid? You know what? We haven't raved Ghost Mustard in a while, so let's go ahead and raid her. It's been a while. All right. Let's see. Hold on 1 second. Okay. Her name's a little. Ghost Mustard. All right. All right, guys. So thank you for joining us tonight. I hope you all have a great night. We will see you for the next podcast on May 30th. And you shall see us being more active with streaming on here for certain games. Until then, I hope you have a great night. Be safe. Drink some water, I guess. I don't know. Or you can just be like me, drink a soda. Until then, I will
Drink
talk.
blood. Drink blood.
Until then, good night, y'all.